Hello and welcome to the Albion Obsessed Podcast. We've been away for a couple of weeks, but we're back for our Christmas special where the Albion Obsessed team are going to play Unpopular Opinions as heard on Radio 1 with the DJ Greg James. So let's see who we've got on the show today. So we're going to start off with Joe. Joe, my friend, it's been a while, but how have you been keeping?
Yes, mate. You wouldn't guess it's Christmas with the fashion on show today. I didn't bring anything Christmassy. I'm sorry. I said in the pre-recording, I'm just wearing snow, guys. So we'll just pass that off as Christmas. But yeah, feeling good, mate. Happy to be back.
Fantastic. And we also welcome back Toby. Toby, how's it going, my friend?
Yo. Yes, going good. I'm feeling very festive. I'm feeling extremely happy that Brighton are back soon. And just before we start, we all know I'm a fan of the wrongly sized Christmas hat. If you haven't seen at Albion Obsessed on Twitter, the latest montage shows you my last year's Christmas hat. So I've gone for this number this year.
The look at that. I mean, it's bloody spectacular.
What do you think?
I'm going to give that 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. There we go. We also welcome for the first time on the show St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, Father Christmas. He goes by many names, a bit like Sauron. St. Nicholas, good to have you on the show. How are you keeping busy this time of year, I imagine?
Yeah, very. I mean, gearing up for quite the shift, shall we say. Hold on 1 second. Chippy, hiya. Yeah. What do you mean? What do you mean they don't want wooden horses? iPads? Just sort it out. I'm busy. I'm on a podcast. Sorry about that, guys. You know how it is. But everything's good. Yeah. Glad to be here.
Well, there you have it, guys. We are the first Brighton and Hove Albion podcast to have St. Nicholas as a guest. It's fantastic to have you, Nick.
Can I ask, Santa, when was your first Brighton game?
1901, as it goes. The formation of the club, it was pretty good. Pretty great. And we actually took over from what was called the Brighton and Hove Rangers at the time. Believe it or not, look it up. It's on Wikipedia. I don't know how it's there, but that's what it is apparently. But 1901, a great time for me. Yeah, was that my thinnest then as well? So
absolutely spectacular, Santa Claus. Thank you for that. I mean, no one can doubt that Santa is a true Brighton fan. He was there at the ship-in when the club was formed. And we also welcome back Daniel. Daniel, you're wearing your very festive Brighton jumper. How are you keeping, my friend?
Yeah, I'm all good. Yeah, looking forward to the season starting up again after a quite entertaining World Cup, funnily enough, which was unexpected. But yeah, looking forward to everything to get going and looking forward to the nice episode today.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I have seen the guys' opinions. We're going to have a lovely chat. But before we do that, I'm just going to have to take this hat off because this moustache is absolutely killing me here. So,
wait, you're an imposter.
I know. I can confirm that it was me, Tom, all along. So this is how it's going to work. I am going to read out an opinion. I'm not going to say whose opinion it was. And then you guys are going to say whether you agree or disagree by a show of thumbs, as it were. So a thumbs up if you agree with the statement or a thumbs down if you disagree. And then once we've all voted, we will have a little chat about what we all think about that statement. We're going to do the football ones first because I've asked the guys to send me an unpopular or controversial football opinion. And then we're going to do some Christmas opinions as well. So that should be fun. We're going to do the football ones first. So if you are watching this after the festive period is over, you can pretty much just, once we got to the end of the football ones, you can choose to skip it if you so wish, but you should still watch on because it'd be fun. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's go with our first opinion or first statement. So number one, whilst being the Albion's kit manufacturer, Nike haven't made a single nice Brighton shirt. So that is our first statement. Nike haven't made a single nice Brighton shirt. 3, 2, 1. Agree or disagree? Oh, we we got a disagree, a middly, and a disagree. And for my own words, I'm going to go with the middly as well. So Joe, we'll come to you first, mate. Why do you disagree?
Last season's shirt. I need to say no more.
You need to say more, Joe.
Right, last season's shirt was an absolute beaut. The moment it was released, we came out against Man City in the shirt, and I fell in love with it instantly. Classic Brighton, not too big stripes, not too small stripes, perfect in the middle. It's exactly what you want. I know people will say, "Oh, I don't like the gold. We should do away with the gold. It should have had red on it." But I personally love the gold on a Brighton shirt. Don't shoot me. Even this season's shirt, I know it's caused a lot of controversy. Tom, we did an episode in August about our favorite shirts, and it actually made my top 5. I don't know if that's recency bias, maybe, but I even think this shirt, season shirt, is absolutely beautiful. And the pinstripe one, really good. The promotion one, I didn't like the panel across the front, but I still think that was a classic Brighton shirt. There's not much you can do with stripes, and yeah, Nike can maybe be a bit more adventurous, but like, come on now, there's been some absolute lovely shirts.
Toby, you also disagree with that statement. What have your thoughts been on Nike as a kit manufacturer?
Yeah, I mean, I know that there's debates over their quality. There's debates over their supply as well, I believe, during their time as the manufacturer. But you know, even just behind you there, Tom, that NHS kit, I thought that was lovely as well. I think there's a lot of good kits, as Joe said. I really have to just follow on from what Joe said, and as someone who maybe I'm not as big as a kit connoisseur as you guys, but I have liked the recent Brighton kits, and the pinstripe one was actually a particular favourite of mine. I know that split opinions, that one, but I really liked it. I thought it was really smart, and it was something that you could wear to a function and not look too weird. You know what I mean? I thought it was really, really good. So that's my piece on it.
Decent. I'm going to come to you now, Dan, because you were in the same camp as Joe and Toby here. So, Nike, what have your highlights been of Nike as a kit manufacturer?
I have to say it's the Hyperturk. The Hyperturk was amazing. Literally, obviously, you had other clubs copy the template of it, but obviously just the color of it was just unusual. And yes, some of the home shirts have been really nice. Say the pinstripe one was a nice change, which was really nice. This season's home, it was a grower on me. I did start to like it. As more and more I started seeing it. But just the other stuff, like obviously supplying and then all that, and it's just it's sort of maybe in the middle more. But obviously, but if you actually look at the style of kits that we had, they're probably really I'd like them more.
Fine, then let's move on to you then, Santa, because you, like myself, were in the middle. What have your thoughts been on Nike?
I'm sort of completely split down the middle with it, because I agree somewhat with what Joe was saying about some of the recent kits. I actually really like the most recent home shirt. I'm actually a big fan of it. When I saw it, I was like, that's very different. I quite like that. But there's things like some of the quality of the shirts. I feel like some of them feel a bit templatey and a bit samey and stuff like that. So I personally sort of look forward to the potential of another shirt supplier and what they can offer to us. But you know, there's been nothing, in my opinion, there's been nothing completely terrible, right? I want to preface that fact, but I'm sort of middling because I feel like we could do a bit better. That's ultimately my opinion on it.
I'm right there with you, Santa, because I think that, you know, you guys have said some of the really nice ones. We've had the pinstripe one, big favorite of mine, throwback to the Phoenix Brewery one. I'm glad you mentioned that, Toby, because solidarity with the NHS stuff that are striking at the moment. We've had some nice Nike shirts, but I think they've been very templatey. Even the pinstripe one, Portsmouth used that the same season. They just didn't have the pinstripes on it, but it was the same template. Last season's home shirt was okay, but then I compare it to, say, the first one we had at the Amex under Araya, which was just, you know, so much better. And I think that's probably why I'm a bit sort of with Nike, because they followed on from Araya, who I think was such a innovative, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, a kit supplier where we didn't just get templatey shirts, and we were in, you know, League One championship at the time, and we still got better, more unique shirts than we're getting now as a Premier League club under Nike. So whilst the Nike shirts have been okay, I definitely want to sort of see what could be done under a different manufacturer. So there you go. We've all had our say on that opinion, and it was quite a nice, you know, middly one to get us involved, because we're going to get onto some other ones now. Let's get onto this one. During his time at Brighton, Graham Potter was overrated. During his time at Brighton, Graham Potter was overrated. A thumbs up for agree, a thumbs down for disagree, or if you want to play it safe and on the fence, in the middle. So I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. Give us a thumb. Ooh, so we got a bit of a split here. So I'm going to come to you first, Dan. Dan, you said you disagree with that statement that Graham Potter was overrated. What do you make of it?
I think probably the statement is probably more on the recent history. But if you really look over his time, he sort of changed the club from where we were. Because when Chris Hughton was obviously manager, obviously we were looking, you know, fairly down. I know in Graham Potter's first season, we weren't that much better, but still there was room for improvement. And then we improved year on year. And, you know, maybe this season, if he didn't decide to do what he did, maybe we could have gone even better. You just don't know. We'll never know now. But I think as a manager, obviously, the striking issue is always going to be there. We always we had it long before Graham Potter was in the club as well. So yeah, I can't see him being overrated in my eyes.
Fair is fair. Toby, what do you make of it?
I like to sort of think about these things extremely logically, and it's, if Graham Potter was still in charge, would we say that thing? And in my opinion, I feel like I wouldn't. I feel like he progressed more than just the footballing capabilities of the club. You could tell, although he's quite an arrogant person, and I've never shied away from that fact. I've always thought his interviews have been very lackluster. He sets expectations at the right level for Brighton fans, and then smashes those expectations. So while I agree that there potentially could have been more with the teams we've had, especially with the performances we've had with our expected goal season, you know, we probably could have won the league on expected goals that year. I don't think Potter's to blame for the majority of that. And I do think he progressed us a lot more than what Hughton would have done.
Fair enough, fair enough. So that leaves the three of us, myself, Joe, and Santa in the middle. So Santa, coming to you my friend.
I feel like it was a necessary move for us to move on from Hughton. I feel like we were trending in a bad direction anyway, obviously. I feel like in retrospect, we had a good chunk of performances under Potter that can't be argued. But there was also, I mean, I guess it's the same with every other manager we had. There was just a lot of games that we should have won, that we could have done better at, and cup competitions we should have done better in, and things like that. So I don't necessarily say he's overrated, but I feel like a lot of the decisions that were made under when Potter was there was done by the club more so than Potter. You know what I mean? Like youth development and things like that. And we've seen so many great players come through, and so many people be sold. And so I think that we have to give him his credit where it's due. But obviously he could have done better. So that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair, because I think if you think for every Man City at home, winning at the Emirates, there was a game against West Brom where we couldn't break down a team. There was the game against Norwich when we were up against one of the worst teams the Premier League has ever seen, and we got 2 points, and really we should have lost at Carrow Road. So I think that's fair. Also, the calendar year that we won a single game at home. So I do sort of feel like fans sometimes did forget about that at the time. But I do agree with what Dan says about perhaps, and as you said, Toby, would we be saying that if Potter hadn't have left under the cloud that he did leave under? And I think he was somewhat underrated by pundits, because I remember when we played Newcastle earlier this season, it was obviously Potter versus Howe, and at the same day it was Everton versus Villa, and that was the Everton and Villa game was like sort of this, it's the battle of the best British managers, and it was Lampard versus Gerrard, neither of whom have done particularly well in the Premier League at all. And you've got the likes of Eddie Howe, who did really well at Bournemouth and has done really well at Newcastle. And then you've got Graham Potter. That was the battle of the British managers, so for me, there was a sort of Potter and Brighton have always been overlooked for doing well. But I also think, as I say, for every amazing game we had against the Big Six, there were always games where we came up against West Brom or Burnley or something, got absolutely battered. So, sort of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other for me. And finally, Joe, what do you make of Mr. Potts?
Yeah, I mean, now time's moved on, I think, and especially around Christmas time, I think it's time to be fair. And the fact that he gave us some absolutely wonderful memories and some fantastic games. But let's also not forget about the 7-game run. Let's not forget about the XG champions. Let's not forget about, as you said, Tom, the 1 win at home in a full calendar year. He shouldn't have been made out to be the next English Pep Guardiola, I don't think. I know whilst he was at the club, we absolutely loved him and we rated him fully. But now when he's gone, you can look back with probably a more level head and a more fair head. And I just think that he should have been looked at as a really decent manager, because he is. There's no taking away from that. And he's still got a lot to learn. He's still young for a manager. And for his sake, he probably hopes that he's going to learn that trade at Chelsea. Whether he gets the time to learn those lessons, I don't know. We're talking a lot today at football about whether he would be the next England manager, and I don't think he should be, because I don't think he'd get the time. Because one, he got 3-4 seasons with us, and only towards the end of his tenure were we thinking, bloody hell, we look really good. He's got this team fully sorted out. The same thing's happening at Chelsea. He doesn't know what player is the best in what position, and he's got a bit of time to think about how he moves forward with that team. And I've got no doubt if they do give him time, he'll sort them out and they'll be flying. He doesn't get that time as an England manager. You get the players for 2 weeks and then they flood off back to their clubs again, and there's so much media pressure on you as well, and you just can't be doing what Graham Potter does at that level. So I just think that he should be looked at as another decent Premier League manager, and if he goes on to do wonders, he goes on to do wonders. But for me, he's not lit the world on fire and he's not shit, so I'm in the middle.
Yep, some very in the middle opinions there, but no, fair it is. And I think that's quite polite considering what he did to us earlier this year.
Well, it's Christmas, Tom. We've got to spread the Christmas cheer, even if it is the snakes.
It's all about forgiving.
We've got to... Exactly.
Fair enough. That's very very amicable of you.
But I don't forget. Coming for you, Potter.
Let's hope he gets fired soon. Okay, then, moving on to the next one. Here's a good one. I think you'll like this one, Joe. Solly March should be considered as one of our best players of all time. Solly March should be considered as one of the best Brighton players of all time. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, so me and Dan are sort of like raging it. Santa is like, yeah. Toby's like, no. And Joe is no. So let's come to you first, Joseph, because I know you rate Solly. So give us your reason.
I feel so mean doing that to Solly, because I do rate him, but of all time, up there with Bobby Zamora, Glenn Murray, Peter Ward.
So here's an interesting point, Joe. I'm just going to cut you off. I hope you don't mind. all of those players you mentioned, apart from Glenn Murray, played for the Albion at a much lower level than Solly March is currently playing. Even Peter Ward, even Brian Horton, all those legends that we love, they played for the Albion at a much lower level.
No, I can see that. I agree with that argument, but it's so difficult, because do you even mention him up there with what Pascal Gross has done for us in the Premier League? I don't know. This season he's been absolutely electric. Since coming back from injury, he's been absolutely phenomenal, and I adore Solly March. I just don't think he can be up there as the best, one of the best Brighton players of all time. You're talking about Vicente. You're talking about, and I know the different levels, but for what they've achieved for the club and what they've done for our journey, I just don't know. And I know Solly scored the winning goal in the Wigan game, and he should be praised to the highest levels for that. I'm just really struggling to see one of the best of all time. He might get into the top 15 or top 20, but I don't think he comes towards that top 5. And that the top 5 is what I'm looking at to be in that conversation.
To be honest, though, like with the other guys that we're referring to, we have the fact that they've had their careers and they're done now, and we can look back on all of that. And with Solly, he's still in play. You know, he's still putting in a really good shift for us now. You know, and yeah, you know, he might miss goal opportunities and stuff like that, but you can't tell me he's not one of the hardest working people out on that pitch. You know, so. The reason why I gave it that is because, like, only time will tell, you know? We'll just have to wait and see.
I think that's why I'm sort of in the same position of you, Santa, is because, as I said before, you know, every striker we've ever had since is always compared to Peter Ward. But Peter Ward played for us at a much different level to, you know, what we are at now. Bobby Zamora, you know, my childhood hero, he was banging in goals in League Two, in League One. So it's sort of, you're right, Joe, that I don't think Solly March will ever reach the same sort of legendary status as they have. But when you come to look at what he's done for the Albion at the level he's doing it for the Albion, because he won't get the fans off their seats the same way Anthony Knockaert did, but he's playing at a far higher level for the Albion than Knockaert ever did, more consistently. So I think that's why, for me, it's a sort of, because I think if you're just looking at purely on levels, and the fact that he started under Houghton, Potter, and now De Zerbi, there's something about that lad that they all like, all of them. So for me, he's got to be considered a very, very much up there in terms of like the levels, but as you say, probably not up there in terms of, you know, like cult hero status. Toby, what do you make of our Sol?
Yeah, so this might divide opinions further. Solly is a stalwart. Reminds me, not directly in how they play, but the sort of impact they have to their respective teams. During Leicester's Premier League win, Albrighton on the wing. Now, he wasn't necessarily the best player, but he was consistently performing every week. He would come into the team and he would just perform. And that's sort of the way that Solly March works for us. But I would make a case for he's probably not in my top 5 in the current squad. You know, especially when you're looking at McAllister in a World Cup final. McAllister in a World Cup final. You've got Lewis Dunk, who is just absolutely phenomenal. Really, you cannot ever like replace him. He's so good. You've got Moses Caicedo, who I think has already, his performances are more consistent and better as in impact to the team than Solly. You know, I might struggle to name the next 2, but I feel like in order to be considered one of the greatest of all time, you've got to be better than the rest of the current squad. And I think in the current squad, if you had to select one, it would be Lewis Dunk for me. And he'll be the one that I remember going forward. I mean, Solly March will be one of those players that you're like, oh, you remember Solly March? Oh, yeah, he was a cracking little player, wasn't he? But if you remember Lewis Dunk, he was the best centre-back we have ever had and will ever have.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, that's definitely until he buggers off to Burnley, eh, Toby? Yeah. And then finally, Dan, you were the only one who gave the thumbs up to that, and I respect that. So, Dan, say your piece.
So the only reason why I say that is because of, as we all said, he's been there, done it. He's stayed with us through what was it, 5 different managers. They all started him. They all rate him. It's got to be something about the kid that 5 different managers, which you could argue all of them all do different, have played differently. All play him in a place where he's played left back, wing back, as a 10, as a winger. He's done literally any job that anyone's asked, and he's always gone, "Yep, I'll go and do that." For me, as well, he's made history with us. He's done different things with us where we all remember. The FA Cup semi-final, with the penalty shootout when it came through. His free kick, I remember rightly, helped us get to that penalty shootout. Then obviously in the Wigan game, he scored one of the goals that got us into the Premier League. He's going to, if he's not considered the greatest of all time, he is going to be, people when they think about Brighton of Albion and think about our time coming up to the Premier League for the first time in our history, they're going to think of Solly March because he's done so much, which is why I think he should be put up there with the names, as we said, with Peter Ward and all that. No, I definitely do agree with it.
And he's local, which obviously is a big help as well. I mean, he might not go down as a Brighton Hove Albion legend in the same vein as Zamora, Ward and Murray, and perhaps even Lewis Dunk, but I think he'll still go down as a local legend, as being part of something that got Brighton Hove Albion, who were once on the brink of going out of business, to the Premier League. So yeah, very interesting conversation there. Let's move on to the next one. Here's another tasty one that seems to be on our lips every week. VAR is very good. It's the officials that ruin it. So VAR is very good, and it's the officials that ruin it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, so we all agree with that statement apart from Toby. So Toby, I'm going to come to you first. Say your piece, my friend.
This is something that we've had a couple of years now to really think about and really reflect on it. Every time it goes badly, every time it does something well. And while the officials can still make mistakes, as it currently is, everyone has a mistake in them. And if we go back to the time before VAR, if the referee made a mistake but that flag didn't come up, you could celebrate that goal in the here and now, and you could enjoy it, and you could laugh it up with your friends. And I think VAR, whether it's the correct decision or not, just sometimes it ruins a part of football that has existed for centuries and still exists after VAR anyway. And I'm just thinking, even if they got it down to a 100% flawless system, I think it only benefits the big teams anyway. Man City are more likely to be in your box for longer, more likely to get a little nick off a player to get the VAR to give the correct call. Even if it was perfect, you've scored a goal that is an inch, less than an inch offside. You're all celebrating, the flag hasn't gone up, and then VAR rules it back for the 1 inch a minute later. The thing is, I don't think there's any way you can perfectly balance VAR to the point where everyone's like, yeah, that's perfect, we all agree on that. Even with these really tight offsides, there's just no perfect way of doing it, even with how they're doing it at the World Cup. Stops you celebrating, and in my opinion, I want to go back to how it was before so I can celebrate a goal.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually, Toby. I was sort of all for it, but actually, I'm going to say something that you never hear on the internet. I think you've made me change my mind, and you've made me remember a glory day where, as you say, you could actually celebrate a goal without having to worry about a millimeter of your shorts being offside or something. I think VAR is here to stay, and I do think that it needs an overhaul, as we've discussed it so often on the podcast. Joe, me and you have always linked it back to rugby and being able to hear the officials. Joe, really quickly, because I know we've said this on so many occasions, could you name one thing that you would like VAR to just do differently that would you think would improve it?
Listen, be able to hear, communication to the fans. That's why, Toby, that's why we get so frustrated, because we don't know what's gone on. We don't know why the referees made that decision. I really do agree with a lot of what you said, Toby. And again, I agree with Tom. It's probably made me on the fence a little bit. There could be so much change with VAR to make it so much more fair. And even with the offsides, if they put in a rule where they give the attacker the benefit of the doubt, or they make the lines a little bit thicker, or whatever it is, to try and bring that soul back to football a little bit. Because I do agree with what you're saying, Toby. It rips it away. You don't know. You're looking at the linesman. You're looking at the screens. You just don't know what's going on. And I think that's down to communication. If us, the fans, heard what's going on, I don't think there'd be nearly as much aggro as there is around
I think
VAR.
the only acceptable change for me that would allow me to still celebrate having VAR as a thing would be managers have 1, 2, 3 reviews. If they use one and it gets overturned, they get their review back. If they don't, it's lost. I think that would be the only way it's acceptable for me, because instead of having every single thing scrutinized, when actually the dark arts are actually sort of a part of football history. You look at, if Maradona doesn't handball that goal, it changes the course of football history forever. And you're thinking it's a bit scumbag, but at the same time, it has added to football history. It has. And I've only recently had my mind changed as well. I was completely for VAR, but done properly, the same as you guys all are. But I only recently had my mind changed watching the Ben Foster podcast, where he says I just want to celebrate goals. That at the end of the day, you go to football, you're hoping, it's ruled out that McAllister goal earlier in the year. That would have been the best goal ever scored for Brighton in my memory anyway. And it's ruled out, and you just want to celebrate a goal like that, because that's never getting ruled out with no VAR. And yeah, I want to go back to celebrating goals, and that's just the crux of it. That's literally it for me.
Santa, you are a man of great integrity. You bring joy to billions of people. What is one thing you think that VAR could do differently so they don't get a lump of coal in their stocking?
Well, they're getting one anyway. Just saying, but I agree ultimately with a lot of what Toby said there. Actually, I too miss being able to immediately celebrate a goal and not worrying immediately if that's offside, or if someone's clobbered into another player or whatever. But I would prefer that we had a good fair game than me worrying whether to celebrate a goal or not. Like, if it's a goal, it's a goal. It'll be ruled a goal. Blah blah blah. Right, but ultimately, I care that both teams are getting a fair go at this thing. And I realise that VAR is not perfect. Clearly, it isn't perfect, because every week there's some contentious argument about, like you say, like a millimetre of the shorts, or a bit of his knee or his elbow, or his bloody nose is offside or something like that. So I think, yeah, it definitely needs to be ironed out. But I care more about the fairness of the game than I do about worrying we're having to wait like a minute and a half to see if there's been a goal or not. So that's ultimately my opinion of it, and that's what it's always been. But ultimately, it does need to be looked at. I agree with what Joe said. We need to, as fans, we need to hear what's going on, because we're just sitting in a room for 5 minutes, up to 5 minutes sometimes, waiting on a goal decision or what have you, and that's annoying. So a bit of transparency in that sense would be really, really good. But I'm all for it. So.
And finally, Dan, what is your one thing that you'd wish VAR would change to make it better?
I have to agree with everyone else, really. Just sort of get, just have us a bit more involved in it all. We need to know what's going on. A lot of the times we sort of stand around, we're sort of looking at the screens, and sometimes it doesn't come up on the screen straight away. We're all going, "What's going on?" Not saying it comes up, and sometimes it comes up after a decision's been made, and it's like we don't even know what that's for, and it's very frustrating. But I've always said it's with VAR. The VAR is a machine. It's basically a program on the machine, and the people behind it have got to use it to best way they can. And if the people can't use it to the best way they can, then what's the point? You know, if they, that's what my opinion on it all is that if they can't use the machine, they need to be retrained and to make sure they can use this machine, rather than, you know, to get more consistent and get more, you know, used to it all, and just, you know, and stop bending the rules to sort of trying to so it works with the machine as well. You know, the rules were fine as they were. Now it's overcomplicated. It's got to the point where no one knows the rules anymore. It's the way that he had the handballs that used to be hand. Now it's all the way up to a shirt sleeve, and offsides is anywhere from shirt sleeves to heads and whatever. It's just, in my opinion, to make it easier, just do feet, because that's how everyone else scores a goal. 70% of the time, they all score with their feet. But yeah, I could go on and on.
Unless you're Glenn Murray and you score with your crotch in that.
You score with your.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Dan, you made a really good point. I think the machine is there as a tool to be utilized, but if the humans behind that are making errors, then is it really fit for purpose? But as I say, I imagine we'll probably talk about it again in a couple of weeks anyway, so we'll leave that till then. And the final football opinion before we start guessing who made what is the following. Southgate should be considered one of the best England managers, or coach if you prefer, of all time. So Southgate should be considered one of the best England managers of all time. 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, so for the most part, we agree. Dan's in the middle. Although I do agree, again, I'm sort of leaning into the middle. Now, Toby, you are Southgate's biggest advocate on our group chat, and it has led to some pretty spicy conversations. So I'll come to you first, and then we'll move on. We'll talk about the other bits.
Extremely spicy. It's you know, it's the sort of spice that you're like, if we recorded that, I don't think we'd be allowed to put it up, sort of thing. Yeah, no, Southgate for me represents a period in English football where the minds of the masses have been changed from, oh, same old England out in the round of 60. Oh, we've got out in the group. Oh, you know, the expectations are so low for England fans, and he's changed the mind of the nation, getting us to, first of all, the World Cup semi-final, which was when I had my mind changed, because before that tournament I was, oh, we'll probably just go out in the groups again, oh, it will be rubbish again, and that changed my mind. And I remember sitting in the pub and everyone singing "Looking Back on When We First Met," and that's, you know, that just captured my heart. The English players were all, you know, I think that might have been the first time they did the Lions Den. They were all capturing my imagination. They were all capturing my heart. They were out to win me over. They won me over. I saw the masses being won over. And then, you know, as the years slowly went on, more and more people were like, oh, well, we had easy draws. He's not that good. We had easy draws. You get to the Euros. We get to the final. And, you know, we beat Germany along the way. It's not necessarily an easy draw, although it was a weak Germany side. And then people have got this expectation that we should have won that final. We've not won a tournament in 56 years. How there is any expectation on us to win something this quickly is beyond me. And the way I see it is the same as any old project, you know, the De Zerbi project. You give him time for Brighton because that's what he needs. We've given Southgate a lot of time. I feel like we're only getting better under him. We only lost to France because France are a very strong side and a missed penalty. That's as close as you're going to cut it. For me, he is the second best English manager of all time. I think I'm very happy that he's staying in. Just confirmed yesterday that he's staying in until Euro 2024. Very happy he's staying in. For me, I'm so in love with this England team. He's Palace, and I love him. Do you know what I mean? I love him. I would take him at Brighton in a heartbeat. I think he is an excellent manager. And I'm
who couldn't cut it at Middlesbrough, you would take at Brighton.
As a manager, I would take him at Brighton. I love him so much. I think
To quote you, Toby, he's Palace.
It's not the fact
I
he's Palace that bothers me. There's the man that couldn't manage Middlesbrough.
I look past his Palace roots now because he has delivered me some of the. I'm not sure if it's it might be biased because of I've got my dad and we always watch England games together and it's always a great time. But it's I think supporting your country should equal supporting your club. If you support your club because you're from there, the same way I am, and I do support Brighton, I support England because I'm from England, and I'm a firm believer of I wasn't in the past. I'm a firm believer of supporting your country because you're a patriot and you need to be there for the boys. And yeah, I truly believe Southgate is up there and his name will go down in history for a very good reason. And I believe shortly, Euro 2024, I'm looking at that.
So I'm going to jump in here, Toad, and I'm going to give... so I put my thumb up because I think if you look at it on a purely numbers game, you're right. We've reached finals, we've reached semi-finals, we've reached quarterfinals in successive tournaments, and I think you can't sniff at that. But I do think there's some caveats here. The first of which is being that we've always been able to beat the sides that we're expected to beat. And as soon as we come up against a side that is ever so slightly challenging, we don't win. So I'm thinking France, Italy, Croatia. You mentioned Germany, but as you rightfully said, Germany at that time were going through a massive transitional period. For me, my main criticism of Southgate, and the thing that's really irked me, is that when he first came in, he made all this spiel about, I'm going to pick players on form. I'm going to not just have favourites. And that's a load of nonsense because, I'm going to preface this by saying his England form is exceptional, but Harry Maguire's club form is appalling. Luke Shaw's club form isn't great. Calvin Phillips has played 5 minutes of football this season. Kyle Walker was injured. He's taken injured players that use up space in a squad to a tournament. Connor Cody, what on earth is he doing in that team? Nowhere near good enough. At a time when, I know, again, I'm going to preface this with I am biased. In a time where Brighton had the second best defence in the league, made up of Solly March at left wing back, we had Adam Webster, Lewis Dunk, Ben White, 4 English players in a back 5. None of them made that squad until Ben White at the end of a season, who was a bit of a willy won'ty and only went because of an injury to a midfielder whose name I can't remember. We had the second best defence in the league. Not a single Brighton defender went to that tournament. Dan Burn, having an exceptional season at Newcastle, best defence in the league, had Luke Shaw, who can't stop a cross, picked over him. His selections, that whole spiel he made about not picking his favourites is a load of bullshit. That is nonsense. And as I say, places like Cody, Calvin Phillips, wasted space. I would have taken James Ward-Prowse for his free kick and, dead ball specialty alone. And how players can get in that squad, it confuses me. And I'm not necessarily talking about Lewis Dunk here because I think Lewis Dunk's form has been a bit shaky this season. Hasn't been amazing. But previously, he's been head and shoulders above the likes of Connor Cody, head and shoulders above, Harry Maguire at club level. I say Harry Maguire, I'll give him his due for England football. He's exceptional. Sterling, why was Sterling brought on instead of Rashford in that game against France? That's substitutes against Italy. The substitutes against France. There's a lot of question marks about his man management and game management that I think, as I say, it's always when we go up against teams that we're a bit more challenging, we lose because I don't think he's got the tactical nous to be able to go toe to toe with the big boys in international football. And I feel that will always hold England back.
I would make an argument if I can.
Okay.
So before the France game, Southgate had never lost in 90 minutes in tournament football. Ever in 90 minutes. He lost to Croatia in 120.
He lost
on
the final
penalties to Italy.
Lack of tactical nous.
Or is it that Italy were a very stubborn defence?
No, because we were reactive.
In football history.
Italy made changes. We didn't.
I personally saw that game as 2 of the best defenders in football history at their most motivated peak. They you could see how up for it they were. You saw how Saka broke free from Chiellini and he dragged the neck back. To me, that was a game that was, any final in any competition in history will go either way because both teams are at their most motivated and they make things happen. And, a penalty shootout, you cannot begrudge Southgate for losing a penalty shootout.
No, I
you
don't.
also cannot begrudge him for not
And
winning the game.
Yeah, I don't begrudge Southgate that at all. I begrudge him. Again, I question his tactical nous. Italy made changes, Southgate didn't. Against France, he took off the player that was causing France the most problems, put on Sterling, who had been back home because of obviously personal issues, and he brought him back on. He brought him on instead of Rashford, who had been having, who was our top scorer at the tournament. I don't see the logic in that. So that's why I think that the numbers speak for themselves. But when you look at those numbers and the games that Southgate has been in charge in, most of our wins have come against, for want of a better phrase, teams that we should be beating. And as soon as we come against anyone who's got a vague bit of quality, we can't hack it.
I do wonder, though, if this was under a Brighton setting, do we look at substitutes, tactics, whoever's playing and whoever's not playing, and say, oh, well, we don't see them in training. We don't see how Raheem Sterling performed in training the day before. We don't see the fact that he took 53 kicks in a row and scored them all.
Why on earth would you think someone who's just had that to deal with would be fit to come on in a quarterfinal under all that pressure?
But why do you think that he's not fit to come on? Because you haven't seen him in training.
It's general psychology. If you've got something going on outside of your life that is big and has made you have to fly back home, you're probably not going to be in the right frame of mind to come on at that world stage in a quarter-final and perform. I mean, Sterling's club form hasn't been great either. So again, there's your.
I think
Tom,
Chelsea's top goal
Can
scorer.
I just pass you this?
Yeah.
I think Sterling's Chelsea's top goal scorer this season. I think you can't look at it as an individual thing and go, oh, he had a big life event and then he's come back. You've got to look at it as he turned up the day before and was like, this bad thing has happened to me. I'm going to channel my energy, everything I've got, into this one game.
But Toby, I think that's wishful thinking. If my house gets broken into as a teacher who is a lot of high pressure job, but not on the same level as playing in a quarterfinal, I'm not going to be able to go into work the next day and perform normally. And I'm very good at my job. I'm not going to be able to do that. I think that's basic psychology. And
but I think you're basing it on things that you can't actually see. You don't know Raheem Sterling. You're not friends with him. You don't.
No, I don't. But Toby, I know a little about psychology enough to probably say.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily about knowing stuff about psychology. It's about seeing the player every day. I mean, there's probably millions of psychologists that get paid to be psychologists at St George's Park.
But did it work? No.
But is that just because France are too strong? Which I would say yes, they are.
Can I ask
Saka, who was causing them all sorts of problems, put them on a player that didn't. So
can I ask a question?
Go, Joe. Of course you can.
Santa, are you going to make it for next Christmas if this carries on?
Let's draw a line under it there.
Just have to wait and see.
Let's draw a line under it because I know we've still got the Christmas stuff to do, and that's going to be spicy as well. Yeah. So before we move on to the Christmas stuff, I'm just going to read out the statements again, and you guys are going to guess who made said statement. So first one was, whilst being Brighton's kit manufacturer, Nike haven't made a single nice shirt. Who do we think put that one up?
Thomas.
Everyone is pointing. Say named.
I know. Joe. The people on Spotify are going to be like,
okay, yeah, that's a good point.
Thomas.
Tom.
I thought Joe personally, but yeah.
It was me. I did it.
God.
Second one. During his time at Brighton, Graham Potter was overrated. Who do we think put that one up?
Dan.
Mm-hmm.
It was Joe.
Oh my word.
Next one. Solly March should be considered one of our best players of all time. Who do we think?
Daniel. Yeah.
Daniel.
Dan. Yes, it was Dan. Next one. VAR is very good. It's the officials that ruin it. Who do we reckon?
Curtis.
Toby.
Oh, it was
Santa.
Curtis. The final one.
Oh,
I
sorry,
wonder
Santa.
who put the Southgate one on.
Don't
I
know,
reckon
mate.
that was Tom.
Dunno.
I reckon
Was it
Tom.
Aaron?
It was Aaron. Don't worry, Aaron. I fought your corner for you, and I fought it bravely.
Aaron's going to be
right.
hearing this later, and he's going to be like, ah.
Okay,
He's
so
gonna wish he was part of it.
That is the end of the footballing and Brighton round. So if you are not here for the Christmas stuff, you can part ways because we're almost an hour into it. My God! So let's do it. So we're going to start big. Die Hard is not a Christmas film. 3, 2,
Agree.
1, go.
Every day.
So, Joe, you agree with the statement that Die Hard is not a Christmas film. Explain.
Now, I haven't seen Die Hard in a very long time because I don't really like action films. Don't shoot me. Pun not intended, but it worked. I believe it's because it's based around Christmas time. Is that why it's considered a Christmas film? No. Christmas films should be about the festive joy and the festive cheer. You do not put an action film on to get into a Christmassy mood. I'm sorry. I'm taking Elf every single day over Die Hard in the month of
Joseph,
December.
I'm so,
I don't
I'm
understand
so
it.
sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to have to just
Don't
stop the
you dare
reindeer.
diss Elf.
I'm
Don't
gonna have
diss
to
Elf.
stop. Elf is the most annoying
No.
movie I've ever seen in my entire life. I love Will Ferrell, love him.
Cut Santa off.
I could watch him in absolutely anything. Right? I could.
Santa's getting cold, getting cold. Santa's getting cold.
Mate, I've got a whole coal house out the back full of it. You're all getting it now, by the way, just saying. But literally, Die Hard, for me, is a quintessential Christmas movie. I have to watch it to get me in the mood for Christmas.
Why?
It's set at Christmas. It has Christmas music in it. It's
Okay.
around
I'm just going to cut in there, Santa. Is a film being set at Christmas enough to make it a Christmas film? Because I would argue that Christmas in Die Hard is a plot device. It is not an overarching theme within the film. So
it's just.
I also use this for Home Alone because I don't think Home Alone's a Christmas film because Christmas is just a plot device. It's there to sort of go, oh yeah, we're having a Christmas party. But in Die Hard, it could have been a retirement party. It could have been a Thanksgiving party. It could be any other party. So that's why I don't think Die Hard's a Christmas film.
By the way,
it works.
I think
if it doesn't work while it's not set at Christmas, it's not a Christmas film.
I think
you
you
couldn't
have
have
too much
Elf
eggnog, Thomas.
summer, could you? Because you couldn't possibly have, I don't know, vodka.
He's ever so argumentative today, isn't he?
I know. I'm just saying. I need to just rewind the VHS tape a little bit here because to say Home Alone isn't a Christmas movie is madness. That is madness.
It's a plot device.
Yeah, but it's at Christmas time. It's a quintessential.
Jurassic World is set at Christmas time. That's not a Christmas film.
Yeah, but it's a quintessential reason as to why he is left behind. It's a reason.
But his family could have gone on a holiday for any other reason.
Yeah, but they went away for Christmas. So,
yeah, but you could go away for a family holiday.
Yeah, but it's not like Home Alone family holiday. It's a Christmas.
Do you know what's a really good Christmas film? The Muppets Christmas Carol. Do you know why that's Christmas film?
It's the best Christmas movie.
It is the best Christmas movie. Yeah. But I suppose my main point regarding Die Hard and Home Alone is that for me, Christmas is just like a side thing. It's a plot device to sort of move some of the story on. But if you take Home Alone and Die Hard and put it at any other time of the year, it still works. You can't say the same about the Santa Claus, the Miracle on 34th Street, the Grinch. It doesn't work. Dan, you were in the middle. What do you think?
That's basically what everyone else has said, really. Because obviously, as I said, it's Christmas. Does that qualify as a Christmas film? So I don't really know. Yeah, I've never seen it, so I can't really say that. I really know. But as you say about that, the thing about being Christmas. I read somewhere someone said one of the Batman films is meant to be a Christmas film. And I'm like, how was that? And obviously, is that because the same thing? Because it's set at Christmas or it's snowing or what? I don't know. So
yeah, I mean, you put snow. It reminds me that some people consider Frozen to be a Christmas film simply because it's got snow in it, and it's just like it's set in the summer. But we moved. Toby, you also were in the middle.
I'm going to go into hiding after I say this, but I've never seen Die Hard.
What about Die Hard 2?
I've never seen any Die Hard film.
You know, I thought I knew you guys. I really did, but I guess I don't. So
I'm such a
Santa, you know everyone.
I
You
thought
should know I
did.
haven't seen it. The thing is, I'm such a and I catch flack for this all the time anyway. So I don't mind if I get a little bit of extra from you guys. But I'm not a big movie guy. I'm not. I don't get the. I'm not sure if it's like an ADHD thing or something, but I don't get the reward for watching a movie. And if I do watch a movie, it's normally in about 6 parts where I've paused it and come back to it, paused it and come back to it. So yeah, it's hard for me to watch movies really, especially at Christmas time. I think the only movie I've ever enjoyed at Christmas time is Elf. So there is that.
Santa is just shaking his head in fierce disgust. Let's move on before Santa decides he's going on strike for Christmas. I like this one. There is an order to Christmas morning that everyone should follow. Breakfast first, then stockings, then presents. So there is a specific order for Christmas that should be followed by everyone. Breakfast, stockings, presents. Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1, go.
Disagree.
Agree.
Ooh, so interesting. So I'm going to just jump in and say really quickly that is a very hard order to follow when you're spending Christmas with children, because they have no patience. And I'm not just talking about my son, I'm talking about like my nephews and stuff. If you made them sit through breakfast, you'd have a riot on your hands. So that's sort of like my thing. So that's me. Joe, what do you reckon?
One very simple reason. I don't eat breakfast. I can't eat breakfast. I can't eat food in the morning. It makes me feel incredibly sick. So yeah, I just get breakfast and go straight to the presents because that's where all the fun is.
Toby, you agreed. Explain.
Ever since I was a kid, my parents would always say, no presents until you've had your breakfast. You've got to sit with the family, have all the breakfast together. And it's normally a big extravagant breakfast as well. It'll be something wacky and new with like, bacon and syrup or whatever, like something fresh out the block. And for me, I think it's important to teach well, at least for me, it was when I was taught it, because I was a kid not too long ago. I can remember being very impatient, and my dad used to just always be like, "No, you're having your breakfast first, sit down." So for me, I don't know, it's just an important part of that, like being because we don't really have Thanksgiving. It's sort of like being thankful for your family, being thankful for. So for me, it's just been instilled in me. I haven't. Then again, I don't have kids of my own, so I don't know how easy it is to instill that upon a child. But yeah, it's for me, it's just a part of just being thankful for your family and being thankful for the gift you're about to receive.
I think that's a really nice way to put it, Toby. Santa, you agreed with that statement. Explain.
Well, because I am Christmas, essentially. So whatever I say is the rule. So if you don't do it, then I don't know what to tell you. But basically, growing up as a little Santa, fully bearded and everything, we were taught that you had to have patience when you woke up. You would wake up, you'd spend some time with the family, you'd eat your breakfast, you'd maybe talk a little bit, and then you'd wait for MISC family members to arrive, whoever they were, aunties, uncles, grandfathers, grandmothers, and the like. And then you would all sit down and you'd open everything together, and that's what I, as a fully bearded 8-year-old, really enjoyed growing up. So that's sort of what we did in the Claus household.
That sounds lovely. Clauses is.
It's
Dan,
actually many clauses is a clause I.
Clause eye. Dan, you disagreed. Care to explain?
In my house,
I agree
even
with you.
when I was younger, even in my house, even when I was younger, Christmas hits Christmas Day, I'm awake, straight down to the presents. Even last year, literally got straight up. I was like, "It's Christmas!" Straight down to the presents. Don't get anything else. We'll look at the presents.
Fair is fair. I think everyone does Christmas really differently. And I think, I think little family traditions are really important. I think what Santa and Toby have both said there is it's really important that we remember that Christmas transcends, capitalism and, presents and gifts. They are really fun. Of course they are. But we've got to remember the ones we love because that is the true meaning.
Because to me, Christmas has always been who you're with on the it's nice to get the newest doodad and the new a nice shirt you've been wanting or whatever it is, right? But I mean, like, I know I spend most days of the year with family or whatever, but like there's a very special feeling about being with those people that you love on Christmas Day, and that to me is the gift. That warm feeling that you have, that you're reaching the culmination of another year. You've gone through trials and tribulations, and you're together and you're enjoying the day.
Beautifully put, Santa. Beautifully
Santa,
put. And
can I ask if I'm now on the nice list?
I'll think about it, Tobias. I will think about it.
Oh, blimey. Let's move on. So there were two that were remarkably similar. So I'm going to glue them together because there are two sides to this story. The first one says Brussels sprouts are the best vegetable. And the other one says Brussels sprouts should be illegal. Okay, so how best to phrase this? So Brussels sprouts, are we yay or are we nay? So let's just keep it.
What we should do is we should do each option with the other, each hand sort of thing. You know what I mean?
That sounds confusing.
Oh, okay, we'll just say yes and no or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So Brussels sprouts, yay or nay? 3, 2, 1, go.
No.
No. Okay, so Toby, you go. You explain, please, while Brussels sprouts are prime Christmas dinner.
Listen, there is, in my opinion, little to no better vegetable than a Brussels sprout. I adore them. All the different ways they can be cooked. Some of them might not be vegan friendly with pancetta, etc. So you might not be able to appreciate that, Tom. But
I don't appreciate Brussels sprouts anyway. So.
Toby, you're back on the good list, mate. You're back on the good
Yes.
list.
No, I just think, for me, I like them so much that if there wasn't a shortage every year, I'd say put them in the dishes all year round. Put them in every roast dinner that I ever have because I love them. And, you can all the different ways you can cook them with pancetta, you can cover them in honey, you can, there's so many different ways you can cook them. If they're cooked well as well, I think it's important to note that a badly cooked sprout can ruin your Christmas. But yeah, I just think that they're a lovely, lovely vegetable. I think they are slept on by the masses just because media has portrayed them as such an awful vegetable and how they taste like fart or something, which is just not true. And yeah, I'm sure Santa will follow on from me, but just another lovely reminder that it's Christmas.
Would you all like to hear a lovely Brussels sprout fact? Of course you would. So Brussels sprouts aren't a natural plant. It's a cultivation. So it's the same as broccoli. Broccoli isn't natural either.
Bloody tasty cultivation. That's what I'm saying about it.
So it's not something that appears naturally in nature. It's been cultivated by humans. So maybe that's where the taste of complete ass comes from. Dan, you and me both were on the sides of Brussels sprouts are disgusting. Tell us why they're disgusting.
It's just disgusting, isn't they? Just as you say, it tastes like ass. Disgusting. Or I don't know why someone thought, let's put this round thing in that tastes disgusting, and basically later on in the day, the house gets smelt out of people's farts. So, how lovely is that? I don't see the point in them.
Dan, telling us how it smells. Santa, you are Christmas. In true essence, you are Christmas, and you are pro Brussels sprout.
Listen, I don't know where you people are getting these arse flavored Brussels sprouts from, but the Brussels sprouts that I eat every Christmas taste delicious, right? And my only caveat to a Brussels sprout is if all you're doing with them is sticking them in some water and boiling the life out of them, you deserve to have horrible vegetables. Because in my opinion, the best way to have a Brussels sprout is nicely roasted, beautifully seasoned, and everything else like that. And then it's a compliment to the plate. But if all, because you get these people like, oh, you've got to cut a cross in the bottom of them and boil them, and it's like, well, if you're doing that, you're gonna have a horrible vegetable. So don't, just actually do some research, season them correctly, and then you will enjoy your meal. It's like, mind you, saying that, I'm like that with mushrooms. I cannot stand mushrooms, and in any way, shape, or form. And everyone says it depends how you cook them, and that's my opinion on Brussels sprouts. It depends how you cook them. So
Yeah, I think that's true of all vegetables. I think if you're just going to boil them, you deserve to have rubbish vegetables. Roast dinners are roasted, vegetables. So you should be roasting everything: carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, everything. Roast everything. The only things I think maybe don't roast, which you probably still could, peas, sweet corn, perhaps, if that's your thing. And finally, young Joe. Joe, you are team anti-Brussels sprouts, are you not?
They're green, Tom. Bogies are green, Brussels sprouts are green. I don't eat anything green. I'm a completely beige man. I've got a very weird relationship with food anyway, so I'm just here for the vibes.
Here for the vibes. So I mean, the last one, guys, is I don't even know if I want to read it out. It has offended me that much. Last one: Christmas dinner is overrated. Christmas dinner is overrated. Thumbs up for agree, down for disagree. 3, 2, 1. I wonder who said that then. So, Joe, explain.
Okay, right. First of all, Tom, what's your least favorite meal?
Anything with dead animal on it.
Cool. Toby, what's your least favorite meal?
Can I come back to you?
Yeah, Dan, what's your least favorite meal?
I like food.
Okay, fair enough. Curtis, what is your least favorite food type or meal?
it's meals that its identity is cheese, so cauliflower, cheese, that sort of thing. I cannot stand it. So
Okay, so
Pasta for me. There you go, pasta.
as I said, okay, thank you, Toby. As I said, that's I've got a very, very weird relationship with food. It's just been something that's been installed in me, and I don't know what it is, but I just have always had it. But imagine being on Christmas Day, a day where you're meant to enjoy everything about it, getting to mealtime, and the meal that's put in front of you is one of your least favorite meals. And you have to eat it. Everybody else is enjoying it, and all the eyes are on you, and they're like, "You're gonna eat it. You're gonna enjoy it."
So is it the potato, the meat? I'm
Right. I love potatoes. Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not one that eats meat just on its own or with gravy on it. That's not me. I'd eat meat in a chicken burger or a sausage. I would eat that sort of meat. Roast dinners have never excited me. My nan makes the best roast dinners that I've eaten, and a lot of people in our family say her roast dinners are the best that they've ever had. And even that doesn't excite me. Yorkshire puddings I'm all for because it's beige, right? All the rest of it, not for me. And on Christmas Day, I want to enjoy myself. I want to have the best things that I know I'm gonna love, that I know is gonna fill me up, and I know my taste buds are gonna be rocking. So I would eat on Christmas Day my favorite meal.
So you get a happy
Rather
meal
than-
in on Christmas Eve, do you, for
Yeah.
yourself for Christmas Day?
No, I would have like mashed potato and bangers of mash, or a cottage pie, or something that I just is so like lovely and homely to me. And that's why.
To
And
be
Christmas dinner, roast dinners have never ever excited me in any capacity.
To be fair, I have a pie with my roast. I have a pie. I like a good pie. And
Yeah, I just don't see why I should go through and eat a meal that I don't want to eat, and be told just because that's how society is. You have to enjoy it. You have to eat a Christmas dinner. It's not Christmas Day unless you've eaten a Christmas dinner. It's not Christmas Day for me unless I've enjoyed myself. So I'm going to eat something that I like rather than what society tells me I should.
Well, Joe, now you know what it feels like a little bit to be a vegan, because that's what I get all the time.
Well, there you go, Tom. So you can relate to me. So you're not as offended as you said you were. Thank you.
I'm not offended in the slightest, to be honest,
Don't
Joe.
you miss bacon? I thought you missed bacon.
I don't miss bacon as much as that pig misses its life, and a
Well,
pig is more intelligent than a
Tom,
dog. So.
Tom, can you have wafer thin ham? Is that
Wafer
something you-
thin? Of course you can. They make anything you can eat, I can eat vegan. So it's all good. But I had some bacon yesterday. Good old Richmond. They make some very nice.
To be honest, vegan bacon is very tasty. Very, very tasty.
It's come a long way in the last couple of years.
I'm glad I haven't got as much crap as I thought I would get for that. Obviously, I know none of you have spoken yet.
Yeah, Joe, just wait, mate. Just.
Okay,
Dan
okay.
is
Well,
in shock.
I'll give
Dan
you
is
the
in
floor.
shock.
Yeah, Dan, he looks like he wants to leave.
I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but I think near when I first met Joe, when we first started the podcast, I think very shortly after it was Christmas, might have been before we had the capabilities to film a Christmas special as well. I remember having, and I hope it's not spoiling too much because Joe was the only one that agreed, but I remember having this conversation with Joe back then. And I think it's completely understandable. I'm never going to say, oh, no, you have to eat this particular food on Christmas Day. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. I think it should be your choice and what you want and what's best for you and what's going to make you happiest. To say it's overrated off the back of that, I could never. I think it's loved by so many, and there's rarely a time where it fails people that originally like it. So if someone liked a roast dinner, if you get given a roast dinner, more often than not you're going to like it. It takes a dramatic screw up to not like the roast dinner you're given.
I think roast dinners are similar to what we said earlier about traditions, because everyone has like their own way of doing a roast dinner, if that's like your thing. And almost everyone will normally say that their mum's roast dinner or their dad's roast dinner is the best. And it's sort of like if you have someone else's roast dinner, it can never compare. Because I'm always like that. I love to cook. Cooking is like one of the things that I love the most in the world. And I love cooking a roast dinner. And I always feel like anyone else's roasts, sorry, mum, I cook the best roast dinner. So if I have someone else's roast dinner, I do the best roast potatoes, in my opinion, of course. So like when I eat someone else's roast potatoes, I'm always a bit like, oh, mine are better. So I get it. It's all about tradition. And I think the main point we need to take away from this is you should never do anything that makes you unhappy just because of tradition. So there you go. I think we can all agree that we all know where that one came from. That came from Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's guess then who came up with some of the others. So let's go with Die Hard is not a Christmas film. Who do we reckon said
Tom.
that?
I think Curtis.
Santa.
Santa. Yeah.
It was
Tom.
It was me. Something I feel very strongly about. Die Hard is not a Christmas film. Don't.
Oh wait, no, I completely guessed wrong there. I misheard the.
You did completely guess
Yeah.
wrong.
Sorry,
did.
no.
I guess someone that wasn't even here, so
It was Cam. Cam said it. The next one we've got is there is an order to Christmas morning that everyone should follow: breakfast, then stockings, then presents. Who just said it?
Tobias.
I think it was Dan.
Toby.
It was Curtis.
Oh, it was Santa.
What?
I don't know where Curtis is. I don't know where he's gone. But,
when I see him, I'm going to agree with him because he's right. So
Curtis sent me that one. Next one we had, I had to split it in two. So the first part was Brussels sprouts are the best vegetable. Who do we think said that?
Toby.
Toby.
Has to be.
It was Toby.
And then the other one was.
On the flip
Daniel.
side, Brussels sprouts should be illegal. was Dan.
Dan. Yeah, sorry, you've already said yours. Yeah.
And then the final one was Christmas dinners are overrated, and that was our Joe.
That was
I knew Joe would pick
Who?
that as well.
What? When? Where? Who? What?
before we even started. I knew that was going to come up. I just knew it.
I'm glad you guys know me so well, especially you, Santa. So I really hope I get some nice food-based Christmas
Yeah,
presents.
you're just going to
year.
get a big old gravy-filled bag for Christmas.
Is that what
I
you're
look
delivering?
forward to
With
it.
coal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lovely. Yeah, actually, to be fair, coal will probably be gold dust this winter, thanks to all the energy issues that are going on in the world. So actually, Santa, people might prefer that than other stuff you've got them. So there you go. Right then, guys. Well, we've been going on for an hour and 15 minutes, and I think I've had a lovely time stirring the pot of disagreement. But you notice how we never resorted to name calling. We never resorted to swearing at each other and calling each other names. We disagreed, and we did it in a polite, respectful way. So there you go. It can be done, everyone. Well done. I mean, and then that is a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, and just a PSA to everyone watching at home. If you could leave out some gluten cookies for me, that would be much better. And maybe like a pistachio milk, something a bit different, because I'm getting a bit tired of, the horrible milk that you keep leaving me. And yeah, just have a good Christmas, everyone. Thank you all for watching this. We have so much fun doing these, and it's been a while, we know, but just want to send the love out to you guys and have a very Merry Christmas wherever you are in the world from all of us here at Albion Obsessed.
Yeah, I think that's where we're going
Santa's
to
joined the Albion Obsessed crew. Get in. New signing.
Confirmed. Christopher
Beautiful.
Kringle is Albion Obsessed.
I knew it. Right, guys. Well, that brings us to the end. As Santa has said,
Tom,
have a wonderful.
Just before we leave, I'm really sorry. This is probably going to be the last podcast we do this year. Maybe, I don't know. But if it is, I want to say, Tom, thank you. Toby, you. Dan, you. Curtis, you. Chloe, Aaron, Cam. You've all been absolutely amazing this year, given so much to this podcast, given so much of your time. We just continue to grow. We're almost at 3,000 followers on Twitter, which is absolutely insane. I know we haven't been doing any over the World Cup, but we're back now. We want to make another push to make this the best podcast it can be. And without you guys, it wouldn't be possible at all. So I really hope you guys have the best Christmas you can, and bring on a new year and see what happens for this wonderful podcast.
And thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, and thank you to all of our guests that have joined us this year too. We wouldn't have been able to do what we do without their people coming on and having good conversations with us. And ultimately, thank you to the fans, the people that leave comments and really nice feedback and stuff. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you so much. So.
We certainly do. Talking of comments, let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts on some of the opinions that we've shared today? Unless, of course, you think Die Hard is a Christmas film, in which case, no one cares what you think. I joke, of course, I joke. Please, by all means, tell me Die Hard's a Christmas film. But it's okay, because we're just going to agree to disagree, and that's fine. But don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content if you haven't done so already. Have a happy holidays, a fantastic new year if we don't see you until then. Roll the clip, Joe. Roll the music. Green Giant.